Welcome to AI Dispatch, your channel for the latest AI videos on YouTube. If you don't want to miss these updates, please like, subscribe, and share. David George from a 16Z delivers commentary that directly contradicts conventional business metrics. His central thesis: in AI markets, low gross margins signal genuine product market fit, while minimal sales expenditure correlates with accelerated revenue growth. These inversions of traditional SaaS economics warrant detailed technical examination. David George from a 16Z presents financial analysis that systematically inverts every established rule of software economics. His observations challenge the metrics investors have relied upon for 2 decades, replacing them with counterintuitive signals that redefine corporate health in AI markets. We start with his position on gross margin interpretation, which violates fundamental investor doctrine. Traditional software investing treats high gross margins as non-negotiable proof of business quality. An 80% or 90% margin signals operational excellence and scalability. George reverses this framework entirely. When evaluating AI companies, his team views exceptionally high gross margins as immediate red flags indicating shallow product integration. His reasoning connects directly to computational physics. High margins in an AI context suggest the product functions primarily as an interface wrapper with minimal inference activity. Conversely, he positions low gross margins as validation of substantive usage. Low margins reflect high inference costs. High inference costs demonstrate that customers actively deploy AI features at scale. Within this framework, burning capital on compute operations becomes the definitive proof of product market fit rather than evidence of inefficiency. He asserts that if electricity expenditure for model execution remains minimal, the company is not genuinely selling AI capabilities. This margin analysis connects to his second empirical observation regarding the decoupling of marketing expenditure from growth velocity. For 20 years, software growth followed a linear relationship. Accelerated expansion required proportional increases in sales, headcount, and advertising budgets. George identifies a structural break in this correlation. He presents data showing that the fastest growing AI companies reach $100 million in annual revenue, significantly faster than elite SaaS companies from previous cycles, yet allocate substantially less capital to sales and marketing functions. He attributes this efficiency to demand architecture. The products generate pull-based adoption rather than requiring push-based distribution. Traditional sales organization overhead becomes unnecessary when product value is sufficiently compelling. This produces a dramatic shift in productivity metrics. While historical benchmarks established $400,000 in revenue per employee as standard, leading AI companies now operate at $500,000 to $1 million per employee. This represents fundamental restructuring of corporate resource allocation rather than incremental optimization. Examining his analysis of labor economics reveals a stark redefinition of how organizations evaluate task allocation. George reports that founders are now filtering every operational decision through a binary evaluation framework. Can I do it with electricity, or do I need to do it with blood? This phrasing is not rhetorical flourish. He explains that this represents literal task categorization. Blood signifies human labor, characterized by biological constraints, high cost, and limited scalability. Electricity signifies AI inference, characterized by computational scalability, declining marginal costs, and continuous availability. The paradigm shift positions human capital not as a resource to maximize, but as a friction point to systematically replace with energy consumption. He supports this framework with a concrete engineering case study that challenges conventional productivity assumptions. Standard tooling improvements deliver incremental gains, perhaps 20% faster execution. George describes a founder who assigned 2 engineers to rebuild an existing product using modern AI development tools, including Cloud Code, Codex, and Cursor. The result was not 20% acceleration, but 10 to 20 times faster completion. The significance extends beyond velocity. He notes that this level of acceleration forced the CEO to restructure the entire organization within 12 months. When 2 individuals can execute the work previously requiring 20, the traditional hierarchy of engineering managers, product owners, and quality assurance teams does not require trimming. It becomes structurally obsolete. The organizational architecture lags behind the capability of the code itself. However, his research on legal sector AI adoption reveals a pattern that contradicts simple displacement narratives. The consensus prediction holds that AI will replace legal professionals. George presents data from Harvey, an AI legal tool, demonstrating the inverse phenomenon. Following AI deployment, lawyers spend double the amount of time within the product compared to previous workflows. He explains that the AI functions as a reasoning engine. Because the system demonstrates genuine competency in legal analysis, it drives deeper professional engagement rather than passive automation. It transforms the knowledge worker into a pilot of a sophisticated system rather than eliminating the role entirely. This defies the binary replacement hypothesis and suggests a more complex future. AI intensifies high-end knowledge work rather than reducing it. Turning to infrastructure analysis, George addresses widespread concerns about overcapacity in computational resources. Market observers frequently invoke the fiber bubble analogy, warning that current data center construction will produce stranded assets similar to the dark fiber from the dot-com collapse. George refutes this comparison by highlighting a physical distinction. There are no dark GPUs. He explains that unlike fiber optic cables, which were installed and remained unused for years, every GPU deployed into a data center reaches full utilization immediately upon activation. Demand consumes supply the instant it becomes available. More surprising is his data on hardware longevity. Conventional technology cycles render hardware obsolete within 3 years. He cites Google reporting that 7 to 8 year old TPUs continue operating at 100% utilization. This violates the planned obsolescence model that governs hardware economics. Compute scarcity is so acute that even aging chips retain full economic value. His analysis of emerging business models suggests a structural disruption to software pricing architecture. The current industry standard relies on the SaaS seat model, charging fixed monthly fees per user license. George forecasts the collapse of this framework. He anticipates a transition to outcome-based pricing structures. Within this model, payment is not for software access, but for successful task completion. He references Flock, a company assisting police investigations. They do not sell camera systems, they sell crimes cleared. He notes they contribute to clearing 700,000 crimes annually. Another example is Non, a travel company where AI handles 50% of complex travel interactions autonomously. This capability allowed them to expand gross margins by 20 percentage points over 3 years. The fundamental shift, software companies no longer sell tools to assist work. They sell the completed work itself. Finally, his macroeconomic calculation establishes the scale requirement for this infrastructure investment to generate returns. He quantifies hyperscaler capital expenditure at approximately $4.8 trillion through 2030. To justify this investment using a standard 10% hurdle rate, the AI industry must generate roughly $1 trillion in annual revenue by 2030. For context, he notes that $1 trillion represents approximately 1% of global GDP. This is the ultimate scale challenge. We are not discussing a new vertical comparable to social media or search. We are discussing a technology that must effectively constitute 1% of the entire planet's economic output within 6 years merely to break even on hardware costs. It suggests that AI is not a sector. It is becoming the substrate of the economy itself. George's analytical framework consistently prioritizes input-output efficiency of intelligence over socially agreed upon business conventions. Whether celebrating low margins as proof of usage or advocating for the replacement of blood with electricity, he describes a market where traditional signals of health, high margins, large sales teams, seat-based pricing now indicate structural decay. The unresolved question, if the optimal company of the future spends zero on marketing, employs a fraction of the staff, and prices based on outcomes rather than access, what happens to the millions of people trained for the old model? If you're interested in the video featured in this episode, click the link below to watch the original.